good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Or good morning, good afternoon. I don't know where you're listening from. All right, so we're going to get into this trial. And I came across this trial. So I'm kind of like following up with y'all, but I got to catch up. Uh-oh, I'm at Okay, I'm so sorry there. All right, so we got to catch up a little bit on this trial. All right, so we basically, today was day 3, but we're going to be getting into day 2. Why are we getting into day 2? Because you know in the channel we love to do these body cams. All right, so we're going to get into day 2 with the body cam a little bit more. So I'm just going to show a little bit of clips. But tomorrow I'll be doing some more. I'm going to be covering this trial, so I'm going to try to catch up. So ladies and gentlemen, what you do is make sure you hit the like button, share me out, leave some feedback and all that good stuff. If you need to reach out to me, look in the description. You can find my email address and we can go from there. All right. All right, so what are we up to here? Let me get this off here. All right, let's get it, ladies and gentlemen. All right, and also the speed is going to be on 1.25. And on your end, you can slow it down so it can be on the, speed, whatever's comfortable for you. Let me go a little bit. It's about to start. Trying to get. Let me fast forward till we get to the guy on the officer on the stand.
Tim Johnson requested that through Tim Johnson Tim Johnson requested that through a radio system for a UGA police officer announced close by.
Who does he work for?
Ascot County Police Department.
How long did it take you to get on scene?
Maybe 5 minutes. I was in the 5 Points area, so I wasn't far away.
When you responded, were you in uniform as you are today?
Tim Johnson. Tim Johnson requested that through a radio system for a UGA police officer.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that. Now we're starting. Let's watch it. Like I said, the speed is on 1.25. If it's too fast for you, hit the setting and slow it down and go from there. All right, let's get it. Hit the like.
I was close by.
Who does he work for?
Ascot County Police Department.
How long did it take you to get on scene?
Maybe 5 minutes. I was in the 5 Points area, so I wasn't far away.
When you responded, were you in uniform as you are today?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you respond in a marked patrol car?
Yes, ma'am.
When you responded, were you wearing a body cam video?
Yes, ma'am.
And was it recording?
Yes, ma'am.
When you got there, who, if anyone, did you meet with?
I met with Tim Johnson, and I believe there was maybe 1 or 2 other Ascot County officers on scene as well.
And was there an individual there who had been detained?
Yes, ma'am.
What is that individual's name?
Diego
What's his last name?
Ibarra, for sure. Yes, ma'am.
And did you have the opportunity to interact?
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm a little bit like all over the place because I did this kind of like last minute. Okay, let me just give you a little bit of a recap, but make sure you read the description, ladies and gentlemen. You get more detail. All right, so basically, what happened is, if I'm correct, this happened like somewhere in February. So don't quote me on. I'm starting to figure this out too, just like y'all do. All right, so this creep that we're talking about, this creep, basically, he's married. He has a child. Okay, I think he's in this country illegally. So this creep, I guess he's in a little lustful kind of state, or whatever you call it. So he goes over here and he attacks this young lady who's 22 years old. She's a college student for nursing. And now she's not here no more. All right, let's get back to it.
Act with Diego Ibarra that day?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have the opportunity to observe Diego Ibarra that day?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you could tell the court approximately how long were you with Diego Ibarra that day?
That day, several hours, probably upwards of 5 hours.
And without telling us what he said, did you ask Diego Ibarra questions?
Yes.
Did he answer your questions?
Yes.
And for the record, in what language were you communicating with Diego Ibarra?
I was using a translator to speak Spanish to him. I can't speak Spanish, so I was speaking with one of my Spanish-speaking officers who was relaying the questions to him.
At some point, did you call 2 Spanish-speaking officers out?
Yes, ma'am.
Who are those officers? What are their names?
The first one was Mason Bridges. He's a corporal. And the second one was Rafael Sayan. He's a corporal as well.
Could you spell Corporal Sayan's last name for Madam Court Reporter?
Sayan.
And are both of those individuals native speakers?
Yes.
Of Spanish?
Yes.
So they were helping you translate?
Correct.
I want to approach, sorry, I don't have to ask that anymore. One moment. going to approach and hand you a few things. First, I'm going to hand you what's been marked for identification purposes. It states Exhibit 177. Do you recognize 177?
Yes, ma'am.
What is it?
My body camera footage.
Have you seen it prior to today?
Yes, ma'am.
Is a fair and accurate recording of your body cam footage on the 23rd day of February 2024 at the apartment complex that we just discussed.
Yes, ma'am.
State moved to admit states 177 and request permission to publish parts of it.
Your Honor, I'm going to have to judge here today. Unlike other body cam we've seen in this video, we have, I would say, a contested witness, Diego Ibarra, and then later our Jose Ibarra giving statements. To the extent that those statements are on the body cam, we have to object.
What we could do, Your Honor, we don't intend to offer the statements, the content of those statements until and after those witnesses testify. So at this time, we can play those portions of the body cam on mute, so that we are just offering this part of the body cam for the images that you see, and we don't have to play the audio. The only time we intend to play a part of the audio for State's Exhibit 177 is with the next witness, who's going to talk about statements made by this defendant that was seen to be a statement made of a defendant, which is not here today.
Very well. It will be admitted for that purpose. No restrictions at this time.
And so I'll mute it when we're talking to the other two residents. The audio will come back in when this officer enters the residence. So if at any time if you feel like I have violated that stipulation, I would just ask that you make a contemporaneous objection so we can handle it.
Yes.
Thank you. Handing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 178 through 194. I'm gonna have you look at all of those, and then I'll ask you some questions. Do you recognize those documents?
Yes, ma'am.
What are they?
They're photos that were taken on scene that day of different individuals on scene.
Are those photos that you took that day of, first of all, Diego Ibarra?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there also a photo of our Jose Ibarra?
Yes, ma'am.
And are there photographs of Jose Ibarra?
Yes, ma'am.
And do all of those photographs, State's Exhibit 178 to 194, do they all accurately depict those three individuals as you saw them on February 23rd of 2024?
Yes, ma'am.
State would move to admit States 178.
You know, I'm really sick and tired of these little creeps just walking around lurking to harass young ladies, older ladies, or whatever. This man is married with a family. All right, let's get back to it.
8 through 194, request permission to publish.
No objection.
They're admitted. You may.
I'm going to play part of States 177. And for the record, Sergeant, and for counsel and for the court, we are going to use the timer at the top right corner of your video to discuss any timestamps on the video. Is that timer in UTC?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is UTC?
It's 24-hour time.
And at 13:36 is when your video starts. Would that be what time in Eastern Standard Time?
13:36 would be 1:36, I believe.
Right, that's UTC.
Right. Oh,
So what time did you get on the scene?
okay, sorry, 8:32.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So 13:36 UTC is 8:36
8:36.
a.m. in Eastern Standard Time, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just so we have that straight. Your Honor, if you could toggle over, we're going to play a little bit of 177, and for the record, it's going to be muted, so there'll be no sound for the first parts of it until this officer enters, and I'll clear the record up for that. Oh, you know what? It's not plugged in, so it is there. There we go. Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to make sure it's muted. So since 177, the very first video that we're playing, is on mute, tell the court what we're looking at here.
I'm arriving on scene initially. I'm about to meet with Sergeant Tim Johnson, Routes Park County Police Department.
That individual we see in the frame at 13:37, who's that?
That is Sergeant Tim Johnson. I can't remember the name of the other officer in the background, and that is Diego in the red sweatshirt.
And what apartment number is Diego standing out front of?
D126.
Does Sergeant Johnson show you an image at some point in this encounter with him?
Yes, right now he's showing me a still frame image from video that they had recovered that I didn't have at that time.
And that still frame image, do we see it in your screen at 1337?
Yes, ma'am, on the phone.
And was that an image taken from a dumpster nearby?
Yes.
So he shows you that image, and then what do you do?
This is news to me. I was coming on shift roughly maybe an hour before this. So I relayed that to my superiors who were about to pull up, coincidentally, and explained to them that, hey, they've got footage. At that time, I was not aware that they had already been aware of that footage.
The footage that was shown to you by Sergeant Johnson, what, if anything, was significant about it to you, and then what you were observing for yourself on Diego Ibarra?
At first, videoing it or reviewing the video, the still frame photo, Sergeant Johnson informs me that the image shows a male holding a hat or having a black Adidas hat. And then he informs me that I couldn't necessarily see from that distance until I get closer to Diego, but that Diego is wearing an identical hat, a black Adidas Blaubill hat.
Did you make any observations about the hat that Diego was wearing?
Once I got closer, yes, I noticed on the back what I believe to be dirt on the brim.
And was that significant to you?
Yes.
Why?
Because I was on scene when we located Laken the day prior. She did have a lot of dirt, mulch, and things like that on her body. And I felt that if an individual was wearing that hat and was touching Laken in that manner, dirt could have been transferred to the hat by moving the hat.
So I'm going to fast forward a little bit for the record. At some point, you began talking to Diego Ibarra through your interpreter.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
And how would you describe Diego Ibarra's demeanor with you and with you?
I mean, he's compliant. He's not posing any issues. Obviously, there's a block there through communication. But based off his physical mannerisms, I'm not really getting any deceptive behavior per se. I was aware at this point he did provide a fake green card, so he was detained for that.
Right.
He seemed to understand that we were detaining him for investigative purpose. There appeared to be good rapport between him and officers, especially with Officer Bridges there, who you see.
If you could, do you have the pointer in front of you?
I'm not sure if I do.
Thank you. Point out to the court at 1342 in your muted video that we're playing. Where's Officer Bridges?
He's right here in an identical uniform that I'm wearing.
All right. And the one closest to Diego in this frame.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead. So you talk to him at some point. At some point, do you decide to obtain a search warrant for the apartment and to freeze the apartment?
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about that process.
Well, based on the fact that he was wearing that hat, the time frame that Tim Johnson encountered him was within 24 hours of the murder. He was walking back towards the general direction of campus, which was concerning as well. He somewhat matched the description of the male seen in that photo, discarding of what I later learned was evidence found in that dumpster.
And specific what evidence?
A sweater or a pullover of some sort with blood on it and hair.
Okay. And did you ever see that evidence, or you were just informed of it?
No, it was picked up throughout the middle of the night. I was there all day the day before. They sent me home to get a sleep cycle, and I was the supervisor this day.
All right.
So I never saw the evidence that night.
All right, go ahead.
And
What
then
about the proximity from the dumpster to Laken Riley's body?
the dumpster to Laken Riley's body, probably rough estimate 500 yards.
All right.
Yeah.
So at some point, when you're with Diego Ibarra and you decide to get the search warrant, first of all, how do you communicate that to get the search warrant?
I go and talk to my superiors and I ask them, because they're maybe 20, 30 yards away in the parking lot at another vehicle discussing. I think they were talking to some GBI agents and other agency partners. And I asked for clarification of, at this point, I gained knowledge there were other individuals inside the apartment. I wanted to start getting resources in and confirming that, yes, we are going to go ahead and surround it. A warrant's going to be sought. And I need other translators here because from what I'm gathering, no one else speaks Spanish or speaks English inside the apartment.
And how many other individuals did you believe to be inside the apartment?
At this time, 3.
And could you see them from where you're standing?
No, not without being intrusive of sticking my face up to that window, which we didn't do. One, for an officer safety standpoint, but also, I didn't have a warrant at that point yet.
Do you see the window? You said the window. Can you point the window out? Is
Yes.
and that's again 1342. Is that the window to D126?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right. I'm going to roll a little more. At some point, do you start asking Diego questions about whether he has any injuries?
Eventually, yes, I did.
And do you take pictures of him and do you see parts of his body?
Correct. Yes, I did.
Me too. Play the video first and then show you some photos. First of all, did you, you mentioned to us that there was a fake ID, so you knew he had given a fake ID. Tell us a little bit of that process.
I didn't obtain it myself. It was provided to Sergeant Johnson when he located him and was identifying him. Sergeant Johnson provided it to me and stated, if you look at it, there's 2 different dates of birth listed. There was one vertically on the side and then one listed with the rest of his identification information.
So did you agree with Sergeant Johnson's assessment that this was not a valid form of government identification?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Gonna go to, and still muted. About 1358 on State's Exhibit 177. What are we looking at here now at 1358?
I believe at this point, my captain, Seth Robinson, was interested in seeing his hands.
And does he show you his hands?
Yeah, see, so Captain Robinson, I believe, asked Officer Bridges to relay to him to please, show us your hands, and he complied. Let's put his hands out.
Did you see his hands?
I did.
Did you see any injuries to his hands?
No.
At 1359, what are we seeing Diego Ibarra do?
He was asked about, I believe they were asking if he could take his jacket off, and they were looking at tattoos as well as trying to make observations of any other potential injuries.
Go ahead.
And he takes his jacket off and becomes, I don't know exactly what he says, starts kind of ranting a little bit and pulls his shirt up and shows us his stomach and his side tattoo.
And do you see any injuries on his stomach?
From my vantage point, no, I did not.
And if you had seen any injuries, would you have documented them?
Yes.
So may we toggle over, Your Honor? States 178, what are we looking at there?
That is a picture of Diego.
And do we see the hat he's wearing in this image?
Yes.
Is that the black Adidas hat that you've already described?
Yes, ma'am.
States 179. Well, who is that?
That's Diego.
Okay, and on his face, does he have any tattoos?
He does. He has a teardrop tattoo on his right eye, kind of off to the side there. It's a little hard to see if you zoomed in, but we identified as potential gang affiliation tattoo.
Can you point to that on
Yes.
the right side for 179? Okay. So what that image is, or that mark on his face at States 179, was that an injury?
No, it's a tattoo.
All right, thank you. States 180,
Again, it's Diego.
and do you see a tattoo on his neck?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, just point to that. 182,
Diego again.
okay, does he have tattoos on the back of his neck?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you please point to those? 183,
So a close up of the picture we just looked at.
and in 183, can you actually see the rest of the hat?
You can, yeah.
Okay. 184,
Rib cage tattoo. I'm not sure what the design was.
so tattoos, but did you observe any injuries?
No.
At some point while you are there, Sergeant, and approximately how long are you at this apartment complex that day?
All day from 8:32 in the morning, and I don't think I was released till probably 8 or 9 o'clock at night.
All right, I'm gonna go back to a different section of your video. And again, it's played on mute. We are now at 1434 in the top count for the record. So that would be 9:38 a.m. Am I right about that?
Yes, ma'am.
At 9:38 a.m., we see an individual in a yellow shirt. Can you please point to that person, first of all? And who is that person?
That is a brother Argenis, either Argenis or Argenis Ibarra.
And how did this person appear in this video? What happened?
He, while speaking with Diego and waiting for resources and other things, he walked out with a trash bag, like a 5-gallon plastic white trash bag that you would buy at Kroger.
Was he detained as well?
Yes,
And did you photograph him that day?
we did.
And I don't need to toggle over, but states 185. Who is that?
That's Argenis.
At some point, did you obtain consent to enter the apartment from Argenis?
Yes,
And did you in fact enter the apartment?
I did.
What was your purpose of entering the apartment?
Well, he informed us that something was on the stove and that he was very adamant about going in to turn the stove off. I believe this is a fire hazard. So that was what we asked for consent to do.
And prior to going in, did you look to see if there are residents inside?
I did what we call a threshold evaluation. So I kind of peeked around from an angle because the door was already open. When Argenis left, he left the door open. So I could kind of see what the environment inside looked like. And when I didn't see any obvious threats, that's when I got closer to the doorway.
In states 177, we're now playing the second video for the record, and we're at 1442. Could you show the court where the open door is
Yes.
in the frame? All right. I'm going to fast forward a little bit to the time where you made entry. Right. And at this point, I am going to play. So 14, we're at 14:55 for the record, and I am going to play this video with volume because there's no statements of individuals, but the officers, and there is no confrontation issue here. But now our video is not working. Our audio is not working. There we go.
That's back by the bedroom. I don't know if that's an emergency. We're gonna go in there. It's just strong food. I'm gonna go put up man. That's true. Yeah, do you? There's a guy right here. There's a guy right here. Yeah. Hold on. 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 Policia. Hey. Policia, vamos. He said let someone go, so I'm just trying to get off. Hey, I need you to translate one at a time. Come here. Come to me. Come here. Or are you? I didn't see his hand. I didn't see his hand. Tell him slowly get out. Ask him to do anybody else. Come on. Right. Stay slowly. There's nobody else there? Trying to stay sharp.
Okay, I'm going to pause it at 14:58 for the record. Were there people inside the apartment?
Yes.
How many?
2,
What were they doing?
laying in bed.
Could you see their hands or their bodies?
No.
You had Bridges translate for you at some point, and when you went in, we could see a light. Were you holding a flashlight in your hand?
Yes, ma'am.
Were there in fact beans on the stove?
There were in a
Okay.
crock pot, the ceramic part of a crock pot.
All right, and you turned those off?
I tried.
The individual, first of all, the two individuals was one male and one was female.
Correct.
Okay. The female, what was her name?
Her name was Rosabelli, and I can't remember her last name at the moment.
The other male that was in the apartment, what is his name?
Jose Ibarra.
And do you see that person that you pulled out of the apartment at 14:58 in the screen?
Yes, you do.
And what color clothing is he wearing?
Red shirt, black shorts, and like black and red sandals.
And the person that you pulled out of the apartment on 23rd day of February 2024, do you see him in the courtroom today?
I do.
Please point to him and describe an article of clothing that he's wearing for the record.
He's wearing a striped button-down shirt.
May the record reflect the witnesses identified the defendant.
No.
Did you at some point have the opportunity to observe Jose Ibarra, the defendant, on scene?
Yes.
How close were you at times to Jose Ibarra?
Your normal conversation distance, maybe a foot and a half.
Did you observe any injuries to Jose Ibarra?
I did.
What injuries did you observe?
While speaking to him, I noticed on his right arm, his bicep, there was a scratch, which I identified as a potential defensive wound. On his left arm, he had a forearm scratch that was very similar, which in my mind looked like fingernail scratches to me. While he was sitting there speaking to us, I also noticed on his left wrist, just below the palm, he had a puncture, maybe a half an inch wide, that through my experiences playing sports in high school and receiving the same injury from fingernails in football, I could see like wet flesh, like almost like it was fresh. It wasn't very old, possibly still irritated. And as he moved his wrists, when I was looking at them closely, I could actually see the liquid, or I guess body fluids that would be in that cut, kind of reflecting with light.
Did you observe? I'm going to publish a few of the photos. Court, would you please toggle over, Your Honor? States 186. Who is that?
That's Jose Ibarra.
And how would you describe his beard and mustache situation?
It's thicker than Diego's, if I remember correctly. Not well maintained. He had sort of a neck beard. Wasn't very long, but it was definitely an established beard. I wouldn't consider it like a 5 o'clock shadow.
Did Jose Ibarra have any tattoos on his neck?
No.
As far as height and weight differentials, you were with both Jose Ibarra and Diego Ibarra?
Correct.
How would you describe their height and weight differential?
Jose at the time weighed more through my observations and was shorter.
And when you say at the time, does he look thinner in court today?
He does.
Is that the way he looked on February 23rd as far as weight? When I say he, I mean Jose.
No.
States 188, what's that?
That is the back of Jose's head.
187?
That is a close-up picture of Jose's mouth and lips. We were concerned. It looked like his lips were red and irritated.
189?
A side profile picture. That's the right arm with a scratch.
191?
That would be the left lower wrist forearm area with a scratch, as well as the palm.
192?
That is his left palm that had some bruising on the thumb palm area. And if you kind of look below that area, you'll see an irritated red area, which is where I saw that fingernail puncture mark.
Okay, the one that was pussing or oozing?
Yeah, it was.
Could you please point to that in 192? At the middle of the screen, thank you.
Right.
193?
That's another picture of his right arm with a tattoo, but also you can see the fingernail scratch.
And 194?
That is a scratch on his forearm.
At some point, did you question Jose Ibarra about his injuries?
I used a translator. Yes, we did.
Who was that translator?
That was Officer or Corporal Rafael Said.
And is that the individual, Raphael Sayan? Did we just see him in now 1519 in your body cam video? Hold on,
Correct.
I'll back it up a little bit. Is that Raphael Sayan?
Correct, yes.
And may I have one moment, Council?
Yes.
Sergeant Epps, at this point in your day, how would you describe the legal status of Jose Ibarra?
He's detained.
And in that detention, did Officer Sayan, and did you ask Officer Sayan to advise him that he had been detained?
Correct, yes, we did.
And did you ask Officer Sayan to advise him that he was not under arrest?
Yes, we did.
And did you ask Officer Sayan to advise them that you were obtaining a search warrant for their apartment?
We did.
So during this detention of the defendant, first of all, tell me, were they allowed to move freely around in y'all's presence?
Yes, I think mainly Rosabelli was standing up the whole time. She was walking around freely. They were talking to each other. They started smoking cigarettes. We heard people laughing. I even made the comment to my officers of let's make sure we're listening to what they're saying in case we get some utterances. But so, yeah, we weren't restricting their rights to talk to each other or anything like that.
And who specifically did you see smoking?
I believe at one point I did see Jose smoking a cigarette.
So he was allowed to smoke a cigarette.
Yes.
Is he handcuffed in any way?
No.
And their conversations amongst, that's the four of them were talking amongst one another. You said you heard laughter about how many times?
I only heard it probably once, and it was from, I think, Rosabelli, maybe Argenis. I didn't know what they were talking about. From what I understand, talking to Officer Sayan, they thought it was amusing how many police cars we had, and that the mobile command center was showing up in the parking lot.
During this time period, did you ask Officer Sayan to ask Jose Ibarra how he got his injuries?
We did.
And was that captured on your body cam video?
I believe so.
And if I were to continue to play this, would that be the part that we're about to see? What I'm going to do is wait till Officer Sayan is here so he can translate what was being said. And I think, Your Honor, that completes my questions except for this. Sergeant Epps, did you ever search the apartment yourself that day?
No.
And who did the search of the apartment?
To my knowledge, GBI agents.
Did you arrest the defendant for anything that day?
No.
And at some point during this day, did you learn or did you see him get arrested by ACCPD for a bench warrant that was outstanding for Athens, Clark County?
Yes, ma'am.
And Your Honor, all of that evidence has already been admitted through the stipulation of Sergeant Johnson. Attached to Sergeant Johnson's stipulation are the exhibits from his testimony, including the bench warrant that this defendant was arrested for that day. So just want to close the record on that. And I'll pass the witness.
Sure.
Good morning, officer.
Good morning.
When you first saw Diego Ibarra, he was wearing the hat that you had seen your suspect wearing in the picture.
Correct.
And you had a chance to observe the hat like testified to.
Right.
And how far away were you when you observed the hat on Mr. Ibarra, Diego Ibarra?
On Diego, initially or throughout my interactions?
What's the closest you got to him, I guess?
Very close, a foot away.
And when you looked at the hat, on the back of the hat, on the brim, you could see dirt.
What I believe to be dirt.
Is it fair to say that it looked like red clay dirt?
I think initially that's what I thought it was.
You also at some point saw that Diego had a UGA employment ID.
Correct.
And that ID allows him access to some of UGA's campus, right?
Yes, yeah.
And you were informed that Diego was first seen walking towards the Rogers Road bus stop.
Correct.
And that bus stop is specifically a place where UGA buses can come and pick up students, right?
Yes.
And you also were able to confirm through investigating your internal UGA database that Diego did work for a UGA department, is that correct?
Correct.
He worked for the Bolton Dining Commons?
There were some issues figuring out exactly where. So it doesn't necessarily say their place of employment. It'll say he's in that division. So once we kind of figured that out later on. But yeah, we knew he was an employee for dining.
So you did eventually establish that he worked at Bolton Dining Commons?
Yes.
Yeah. You also noticed that Diego was wearing dark, long pants.
Yes.
And you know that the dark, long pants are similar to the ones that were in the video of the man walking toward the dumpster.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
When you first saw Jose Ibarra, he was asleep, right?
Yes, I believe so.
You had trouble waking him up.
I wouldn't say trouble waking up. I just had to talk very loudly.
Okay. And you also had to kind of rap on the floor frame.
Yeah, to wake him up.
And you would agree that he was a little slow initially getting up and out of bed.
Correct.
But you believe that was because he was confused having just woken up.
I didn't know what he was doing. I couldn't see his head. I said there's a guy asleep right here because he was in a sleep posture under covers. I couldn't see his hands. So he was slow. I could see the possible confusion because I'm not very good at speaking Spanish. I'm sure that to a Spanish speaker, I have a foreign accent, like a Spanish speaker may have a foreign accent with English to me. So that's why I could see why there may have been some confusion for him.
But to be clear, you felt that his slowness to respond was due to your Spanish speaking and his having woken up rather than passively resisting.
Possibly, yes.
And that's what you put in your report.
Yes.
When Officer Bridges came in and delivered the command to show his hands, Mr. Ibarra needed to put his hands in the air.
Correct.
Now, when you detained all the individuals, they were detained outside of the apartment,
Correct.
and it was February morning, right?
Correct.
It was a little bit chilly.
It was kind of somewhere, honestly, if I remember correctly, the weather now, about 50s, 60s.
At some point, Rose Bailey asked to get a jacket because she was cold.
As I was leaving the apartment, I was informed by, I believe, Bridges, or maybe it was an athletes officer, that she wanted a jacket.
When you observed the markings on Jose Ibarra, you did not observe any blood in the wounds.
I didn't see blood, no.
They did not appear deep enough to draw blood.
No, the only one that I think could reasonably draw blood, which obviously the scratches that I wouldn't say would be dripping blood, there could have been blood present, but that left puncture on the wrist that I described, I could see there be more blood coming from that than his scratches.
Did you observe any scabbing?
No.
Just one moment, please. I don't have any further questions this time.
Redirect.
No, sir.
Can you be excused?
Yes, sir. No, Judge.
Excused. Thanks, sir. You call your next witness.
State calls Raphael Sayan. You can raise your right hand, please, sir. Do you swear from the testimony you will give to believe in the matter of the state of Georgia versus Jose Ibarra will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Please take a seat, state and spell your first and last name.
My first name is Raphael, Rafael, and my last name is Sayan, Sayan,
Where do you work?
University of Georgia Police Department.
How long have you worked there?
5 years.
What are your current duties and responsibilities?
I'm a patrol corporal, and my duties are to train new officers so they're ready to be on the road.
As a patrol corporal, you wear a uniform like you are today in court,
Yes, ma'am.
and do you also drive a patrol car
Yes.
and wear Bodycam videos as well?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to ask you, Corporal Sayan, can you speak Spanish?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
How do you know how to speak Spanish?
I've been speaking it for 34 years. I'm bilingual, fluent. Parents are from Peru. Went to Peru many, many times. My wife is also Latina, so we speak Spanish at home very often.
Okay. And your wife is from what country?
Colombia.
So you speak Spanish and your parents are from Peru.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
And are you familiar with the South American type of dialect of people who speak Spanish?
Yes, ma'am. I am.
Tell us a little bit about that.
South American Spanish.
Yes.
Yeah, it's well, it has its own dialect. It's very different from Central American Spanish and what I would call Mexican dialect too. So it's easy to pick up when you hear it, especially living within those communities for many, many years and growing up with it. But there is a different dialect to it. Mhm.
Do you believe you're well versed in South American Spanish?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you read in Spanish and write in Spanish?
Yes, ma'am. I can.
And do you speak Spanish in your household still?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you working on February 23rd of 2024?
I was.
Did you get a call from Sergeant Epps and asked to come and help translate at an apartment complex?
Yes, ma'am. I did.
And about what time did you get there?
I would say it was right before 9 in the morning, so 8 in the morning, right? 8:45.
8:45ish. When you got there, what were you asked to do?
Once I arrived, once they pulled everybody out of the apartment, I was requested to observe and to translate.
Did you do so?
Yes, ma'am. I did.
I want to ask you about all 4 individuals out there. First of all, did you have the opportunity to converse in Spanish with a Diego Ibarra?
Yes, ma'am. I did.
Did you have the opportunity to converse in Spanish with a Rosbeli Flores?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have the opportunity to converse in Spanish with Argenis Ibarra?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you have the opportunity to speak in Spanish to Jose Ibarra?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any difficulties understanding their Spanish?
No.
Did they seem to have any difficulties understanding your Spanish?
By them responding to my questions and us conversing, I would say that no, they understood me very well.
The person named Jose Ibarra, did you question him that day and ask him some questions about injuries that were observed on him?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
What language did you ask him those questions?
It would be in Spanish.
And what language did he respond back to you?
In Spanish.
And at this point, before we get into the statements, Your Honor, just for the record, defense counsel has not filed for a Jackson Deno, and I'll let her take it from there.
We will not be raising Jackson Deno issue at this time.
When you were conversing or speaking with Jose Ibarra that day and asking him about injuries, about how close were you to him?
I would say roughly between 3 to 4 feet.
And prior to, and if you could sit a little into that microphone, thank you. Prior to you asking him questions about his injuries, were the 4 residents of that apartment allowed to kind of move around, and were they talking to one another?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, they were speaking to one another, laughing. Yeah.
And how would you describe the vibe between them and what was going on at this time?
It seemed very relaxed. There was a lot of laughing, giggling, especially when they were talking about how they were woken up, pulled out of the apartment, smoking. So I would say the vibe or the atmosphere was very relaxed and calm.
And may I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
All right, I'm showing you what's been already admitted as State's Exhibit 177. And have you seen it? And you know what? It's already admitted. So I'm going to show you something from it. Sorry, it's had it. But you have seen 177?
Yes, I have.
And what is it?
It's going to be axon footage.
From your conversation with Jose Ibarra
That's correct. Yes,
on the 23rd day of February 2024?
yes ma'am. And it would be Sergeant Natchez axon footage.
So you had footage and he had footage, right?
Correct.
And do you see that yourself in this footage? I'm going to publish the 3rd video in States 177. Do you see yourself right there?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Oh, I'm sorry. We got to toggle over. And this may be a little difficult to do. Hopefully you're going to be able to hear it. But what I would like you to do for the record is translate to us exactly what you asked him and exactly what he said back to you. And if you have problems hearing it and you need to hear it again, just let me know and we'll rewind it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Hold on a second. Well, we have no volume at all. So hold on just one moment. I'll start it over. All right, I want to start it over. There we go.
My friend, can you do me a favor?
All right, let's say that again.
My friend, can you do me a favor?
Okay, so you said, my friend, can you do me a favor? And why did you ask the question in that manner?
It's just my mannerisms. When I speak Spanish, I'm very respectful to folks. It's just the way I was raised, and it's Latin American culture.
All right.
I asked them, I have a question, why, and then I point to my left knuckle, why is this red? He responds by saying that because of the cold.
Because of the what?
The cold. I asked him what happened there, and he.
And for the record, we're at 15:20 of the video, and he is pointing to his left arm.
It would be his right
Or
bicep.
his right arm, sorry.
Mhm.
A little backwards. His right bicep. Okay, and you asked what?
I asked what happened there, and he said that he had a scratch, but he didn't exactly explain from where or how. I asked him about another scratch on where his left wrist meets his left forearm. If you could actually just repeat that part
I
right
will.
there. I asked him what happened there.
Okay, what you said what?
What happened there? Pause it, please. He says, I don't have anything there. There's nothing there. And then he starts pointing at it again, saying that, oh, it's just a scratch.
So when he said that there was nothing there, could you see something there?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
What could you see?
It looked like I don't exactly know the time, but I could see there was still a little bit of pus in it.
Pus?
So it didn't look very old. But I could see that there was a scratch on his wrist. I asked him to raise up his sleeves.
Okay.
And the scratch over there is,
Do you hit the face or anything?
I asked him, were you struck in the mouth? He responded to me that, no, he was not struck in the mouth and that it's the cold air on his lips, so he uses chapstick. I asked him to raise up his hair. I also asked him to raise up both sides of his hair.
What did you observe when he raised up his hair?
I could see that there was a red mark going across, like as if he had been wearing a hat. He explains to me that he wears a hat, a gorra, a hat, and continue.
What kind of hat did you wear?
I then ask him what type of hat, and he motions over to Diego, who's sitting to the right of him, that it's a hat very similar to that one that was on Diego's head.
Thank you.
And does that complete your conversation with Jose Ibarra about his injuries?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
I want to ask you, at some point, does he use the word for nail in Spanish?
Oh, no, he doesn't.
Okay. Do you use that word?
In Spanish?
Yes.
The nail. So the word in Spanish for nail, as in like a fingernail, would be, excuse me. Sorry, I apologize. I'm drawing a blank right now.
Yeah.
But it would be uña.
Okay.
But I didn't hear that.
Okay.
When he didn't respond back to me.
He did not.
Mhm.
What was the question that you asked with uña that he did not respond back to?
Well, I had asked him how did he receive those scratches, and he didn't give me a clear answer at all.
Okay. I want to have you hear this one section, Corporal saying. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
and the scratch over there is,
Do you hit the face or anything?
what's it, back there on that one?
Sorry, there we go. We're back at 15:19. If you could just listen to this again. All right. Did you use the word uña in those questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. What word did you use?
It sounds like I didn't really use a word. I asked what had happened there.
And his answer to the specific one about the left wrist was what?
Well, first he said where. I mean,
Okay.
the way it looked like he was acting as if there was nothing there, but I could clearly see there was a scratch.
At first, that's what he said, where, and then what?
And then he pointed at it. And again, he doesn't really tell me how he got it. Yeah.
One moment, Your Honor. One final thing. Corporal saying, the phrase in Spanish, yo tengo, what does that mean literally?
Yo tengo would exactly translate to I have.
That's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, ma'am.
This all occurred on February morning,
Yes, ma'am.
and I believe you said you arrived around 8:45 in the morning.
8:45-ish.
And this was a little bit after that, but still in the morning.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Ibarra was wearing a short sleeve shirt
Yes, he was.
and shorts
Yes.
and slides,
And I would say so.
and he didn't have any sort of jacket or other covering.
No, ma'am.
All right, just a moment. And when you asked him about a hat, and he gestures towards, Mr. Diego Ibarra, he doesn't say, I wore that hat. He says, I wear a hat like that.
Yes, ma'am. That's what I heard.
All right.
Read record.
No, sir.
Any excuse?
Yes, sir.
Any objections?
No objection.
Excuse. Call your
State calls Special Agent Annie Mormon. If you could raise your right hand, please, ma'am. You swear from the testimony you will give today will be the truth. And the matter of State of Georgia versus Jose Ibarra will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Please state, spell your first and last name.
My name's Annie Mormon, A-N-N-I-E, Mormon, M-O-O-R-M-A-N.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a special agent with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
How long have you worked for the GBI?
4 years.
What are your duties and responsibilities?
I currently serve as the crime scene specialist with the Region 11 GBI office.
What do you do as a crime scene specialist?
Collect evidence, process scenes, send evidence to the crime lab.
And tell the court a little bit about your training for your job.
Sure, so we participate in a GBI Special Academy, which is 13 weeks. And then on top of that, we participate in a lot of extensive training to become a crime scene specialist, which includes advanced training in blood stain pattern analysis, reconstruction of crime scenes and such.
Were you asked to assist the University of Georgia Police Department in searching an apartment on the 23rd day of February 2024?
Yes,
Did you tell the court what was the address of that location and about what time did you get there and what you did when you got there?
sure. The address was 2085 South Millage Avenue, the Argo Apartments, apartment D126. I had been in that apartment complex from approximately 11 a.m. Helping do neighborhood canvases, specifically to search that apartment. We didn't start that until approximately 3:30 in the afternoon.
Tell us a little bit about the canvassing process. What was going on with the canvassing of the apartment and about what time did that start?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm like doing clips. I'm trying to see the next one I want to get to focus on day 2. So, ladies and gentlemen, just give me a second here while I look for it. It's going to be silent for a second, please. Right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do this clip here. Let's watch this one. Let's see a little bit more. I want to see what this person has to say on the stand. Let's listen.
If we were listening to it contemporaneously and having a court interpreter interpret it, that may solve one of their problems. I still don't think that would solve the confrontation issue, but we would ask that it be done like that, not an introduction of a translation by a third party.
Okay. Well, we'll take up that objection as it develops, but I'm going to, at this point, deny the motion to eliminate. You may proceed.
And I also want to add, this is a bench trial. So basically the judge is going to be the one who's going to make the verdict. There's no jury. Let's get it. Now, I think someone else supposed to be coming on the stand. I don't know exactly who, but we'll find out together.
Can you raise your right hand? Yes. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to present to this court on the state of Georgia versus Jose Antonio Ibarra shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Will you state your name for the record?
My name is Abasis, A-B-E-I-S-I-S, last name Ramirez, R-A-M-I-R-E-Z.
And how are you employed?
I am a staff operations specialist / tactical specialist with the Federal Bureau of Investigations, and I'm assigned to the office here in Athens.
And how long have you been employed by the FBI?
I have been with the FBI since June of 2019.
And what do your duties include?
My duties include providing analytical assistance to drive cases forward for FBI and law enforcement partners.
What does that mean for those of us who don't work in that field?
That can mean anything from maybe listening to jail calls. If they have some people that they're looking into for a case, I'm able to try to find as much information that I can on those individuals so that the
I got it. This is what I want to hear was the jail calls. Okay, jail calls. Let's get it.
agents can make decisions on how to proceed forward.
And do you have any special training?
Yes, I attended a 6-week training in FBI Quantico.
And does part of your duties include translating jail calls or any other content?
Yes.
For the FBI? Can you tell us about that process?
So since I speak Spanish, I requested to be tested for reading and listening through the language and assessment unit at headquarters. Once I take my tests, they score and they will deem whether you're proficient or not. And I received my scores and I was marked as proficient.
And are you a native speaker?
Yes, I am.
What where are you from, or where's your family from?
My dad's from the Dominican Republic and my mom's from Costa Rica.
And do you speak Spanish regularly?
Yes, I do.
And do you understand different dialects of Spanish?
Yes, I do.
And what does your proficiency rating allow you to do for the FBI?
My proficiency rating allows me to monitor Title IIIs, review jail calls. I can also review like phones or any documents and provide translation for those.
Okay. What is a Title III?
Title III is when like a wiretap on a phone.
Okay. And I understand that you were assigned to work on the case involving state of Georgia versus Jose Ibarra.
Yes, I was.
And what were your duties? What were you assigned to do in this case?
I was assigned to monitor his jail calls and then provide any assistance translating anything that was in Spanish as needed.
Did you, by any chance, were you called upon to translate some videos made by the defendant on February 22nd?
Yes.
Morning hours, February 22nd.
Yes, I was.
And for whom did you do those translations?
I did those translations for Special Agent Jamie Hipkiss.
And Your Honor, if I may play the videos.
Give me just a moment. Ms. Jackson, is the state's position that Ms. Franco's side of the conversation is being offered for the truth of the matter?
Our position is that the side of the conversation is offered to provide the fact finder with the context and setup of the conversation. Because if you were just listening to the words of one person as part of a conversation, it would be difficult to have an understanding of what that person's intent was.
So your answer is no, it's not being offered for the truth?
That's correct, Your Honor.
I'm
Yes,
not
the
trying
answer is no.
not trying to lead you. I'm
No,
just
the
trying
answer
to
is no,
figure
Your
out
Honor.
the answer to my question.
The answer is no. It's being, what I said in my argument, it's being provided for the purpose of showing the context of the conversation.
Okay, and I thought that's what you said the first time. I saw you standing up. I'll hear from you.
Judge, I think inherent in that would be a requirement of the fact finder to believe that what one side of the conversation is saying is true in order to put the meaning on the other side of the conversation. That's the whole point of understanding it, is that you have to believe that both sides are true, or neither side's true, unless we were able to confront the witness that was making those statements.
So typically, this is what becomes interesting with me being the trier of fact. Because as we know, typically, I would be listening to the motion in limine and hearing the recording outside the presence of a jury and making a decision. But as we sit here at this point, I haven't heard it. So here's the way we're going to proceed. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to hear it, and then I'll consider whether or not I'm going to consider it. I think that's all I can do.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Right now, we will go forward and play the slides from Agent Hipkiss's presentation that were translated by Specialist Ramirez. Okay, we'll start first with slide 22. There is Spanish on the, can you see the slide?
Yes, I can.
Okay, and what do those words say?
It's saying one time, Ozuna said.
Excuse me, just for clarification purposes for Ms. Beck's previous witness, I believe that she had made a relevancy objection to those lyrics being intended to prove anything as it resulted, or as it happened in this case, for any material fact in this case. And so I don't know if we'd gotten a ruling on that relevancy objection before she went there.
We did. I did rule on that. Go back and see. I indicate that I did, but I am finding it relevant or denying the objection based on relevance.
Thank you.
All right.
Let's go to slide 20. And the translation.
Yes, that is accurate.
And can you read the translation for the court?
Yes, it says, they want to see me fail, but I won't let them. My heart is that of a warrior. That's how the game rules are, and whoever breaks them will pay.
Okay, let's go on to the next one.
Yo necesito ganas, no querer ganar. Si algún día perdiese mi miedo a perder, dentro del haber corrido para no llegar. No sé qué tenía, si me da también. Ya me crecieron miedos que nunca eduqué. Y me salen respuestas cuando preguntan.
Okay, did you translate this one as well?
Yes, I did.
Okay, what does this, how did you translate that music?
It says, I need motivation, not wanting to win. And if one day I lost my fear of losing, it hurts to have run, not to arrive. Now I know that the journey is also the goal. I've grown fears that I never educated, and I know the answers for not asking.
Okay. Can you take the last one? Okay.
This one says, I started, gave it all, fought, I trusted, but in love, I didn't do so well. I kept going, I tried, I fell, I got up.
Thank you. So now let's talk about you monitoring jail calls. You mentioned that that is part of your duties and that you were assigned to do that as part of this case.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you start monitoring jail calls?
I started monitoring Jose's calls March of 2024.
Okay. And then how do you get access to the jail call system?
I was provided a login, a username and password from an administrative officer with the Clark County Sheriff's Office.
And what system is used to monitor and record jail calls by the Clark County Sheriff's Department?
Securus.
And essentially, how does it work?
So normally I would log on to Securus. I am able to search for someone who's incarcerated at the jail by name or their ID. I'm also able to search by numbers that are dialed, and this helps me narrow down the calls that I'm listening to.
So how would someone from who is incarcerated in the Clark County Jail, how would they go about making a jail call? How does the system work on that end?
They normally would use the wall phone, or they can use their tablet.
And then what would they do to log into?
I've never had to make a call, so I'm not sure.
Are they able to call specific numbers?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And do you know whether or not they have, most inmates have access to the jail call, secure jail call system?
Yes, they do.
Okay. And once you get your ID, you log into the system, what happens next?
For me,
Yes. You log into the system and then what do you do next?
I will go to communications. I can search an inmate's name. Usually if there's someone incarcerated, I usually search by last name. So if there is someone else that is incarcerated with the same last name, I will search by the inmate's associated PIN number. That way I can just focus on their calls.
How do you ensure that the inmate number being used is the person that you think you're monitoring?
In the system, each number is assigned a name, so I'm able to see the inmate's name as well as their PIN number.
Is it ever possible for inmates to allow other inmates to use their PIN number or their calls?
Yes, I have seen that before.
And in that instance, how do you verify that you're listening to the right calls from the right person?
So for example, in his case, if someone is talking in English, then that is a good projection that it's not him. I'm also able to see the numbers that are being dialed, and those numbers are not numbers that he dials on a regular basis.
And in this case, were you able to identify certain callers by their phone numbers?
Yes, I am.
Who were you able to identify?
I was
in
able
these
to
jail calls?
identify Lele Franco.
Okay, and what phone number did she use?
I cannot recall the phone number off the top of my head.
And approximately how many jail calls have you listened to in this case?
I have reviewed approximately 2,000 and I have listened to approximately 400 due to most of them being marked no content.
And who were the talkers or the speakers on the majority of these jail calls?
Jose and Lele.
And did you get to be familiar with their voices?
Yes,
after
I did.
listening to 400 calls? And then how did you classify the calls once you listened to them?
So anytime I would listen to a call, I would either mark it as pertinent, non-pertinent, or no content.
And did you isolate some pertinent calls for this case?
Yes, I did.
And was one of those calls, I don't have it on the computer here, made on May 11th
Yes.
of May 11th on 2024 at 6:41 p.m.?
Yes.
And how did you translate the language in the calls?
Yes. So normally I listen to a call, I will write a summary in English, and then we will send it to linguists to get it officially translated.
And did you send this call out to a linguist to get translated?
Yes, I did.
And did you review that transcript for accuracy?
Yes, I did.
Okay, let me show you this jump drive. I'm going to show you what's been marked in States Exhibit 243. I've already shown it to the defense. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. What is contained on this jump drive?
That contains the call for May 11th, 2024 at 6:41 p.m.
Did you review the transcription in this case?
Yes, I did.
Is that also contained on this jump drive?
Yes, that is also on there.
And did you have a part in helping to create a demonstrative exhibit for the court?
Yes, I did.
Is that also contained on this jump drive?
Yes, it is.
And do you agree with the translation of the transcription of the language as done by the FBI linguist? Is that consistent with what your translation is?
Yes, I did.
And were you able to identify the speakers on the
Yes,
call?
I was.
And who were the parties in this particular call? On May
The
11th?
parties on this specific call were Jose and Lele.
And did you initial this?
Yes, I did.
State will move States Exhibit 243 into evidence at this time.
Judge, I'm going to renew my objection, add on to that objection. Apparently, especially as it relates to the demonstrative and the translation, that this wasn't even done by agent basis. It was done by, now we've got one more level of people who are not going to be here to testify. And so I would add that on to the hearsay and the confrontation.
Agent Specialist Ramirez testified that she listened to the call herself. She reviewed the transcript of the transcript that was created by the FBI linguist, that she reviewed it for accuracy, that she agrees with the transcript, and we would be permitted to assist the court. We have created a demonstrative aid so that the court can, it's essentially what it is it is a rolling exhibit of the transcript.
Well, I hear you, but I also agree with Mr. Kirby that, I mean, we've now got another layer. I think those are his words. I'm not going to admit it as at this time this way. I mean, y'all can perhaps figure out something else. I don't know, but we've got the linguist. That's the first I've heard about that when you started talking about that. That actually did the translation approved by this witness, and now we're here. So I am going to sustain the objection at this point.
The other option, Your Honor, the other Specialist Ramirez listened to the call. Somebody testified that she's listened to the call, that she's translated it herself, and we would have her testify as to her translation of this particular call. It's in play. Which she's a certified, we've already established that she's a certified translator for the FBI. She listens to jail calls. She was able to authenticate the authenticity, identify the speakers, identify the method of recording the calls, And based on that, we would submit that she can testify as to what the call said.
You want to be heard further?
Judge, the only thing that I would add, I don't know if we're getting into expert testimony here, or if agent of basis is being offered to that. I think you need a court certified interpreter to do that when you play the call. As it relates to agent of basis, it sounds like that went to someone who was a specialist in this, and I would probably think that she is not qualified for that.
Well, I'll let you inquire further. You can what I heard on her qualifications if you want to, but what I've heard so far, they've at least put up a prima facie case that she is qualified. So I'll let you inquire about that. So here's where we stand right now. I'm not going to admit it as it's coming from the linguist to Ramirez to here. However, if I am going to consider it, if there's a foundation laid by this witness as to the translation. I don't think the certified court interpreter, as we know them here, is required in this situation, but I don't believe so. So.
And I apologize to Agent Ramirez, I'm saying agent basis, and that's
Okay.
not it.
So with that, do you want to void out her on her qualifications, or? I'm just offering it.
No, unless they're offering Agent Ramirez as an expert in this, in which case we didn't get any of the stuff that we should have gotten, because I don't know that she was originally thought to be offered as an expert. I think it would be more appropriate on cross-examination.
That's okay.
The defense keeps changing the standard. Specialist Ramirez has already testified that she's a native speaker of Spanish, that she has completed the FBI's certification program, which allows her to do work as a translator for the FBI, and that the translation of this particular jail call and all the other ones was done in the course of her duties as a specialist at the FBI.
Are you offering her as an expert?
I am offering her, I could offer her as an expert. I could ask the court to qualify her as an expert in this area, given her qualifications.
Has she testified in court proceedings before?
Actually, she has not. This would be her first time. But if not, she could still testify as the person who translated the call in the course of her duties as a native speaker of the language. And the law does not require. It's a better practice to use a certified court interpreter, but it's not what the law requires.
Want to be heard any further now? No?
Yes.
Okay. I'll let you go forward, and I'll leave it to you if you're asking for her to be allowed to testify as an expert or not.
Did you have an opportunity to listen to the translation?
Yes.
Listen to the jail call.
Yes, I have.
Approximately how many times did you listen to it?
I have probably listened to that jail call more than 10 times.
And did you make a translation of the jail call?
Yes. When I listen to a call, I normally type up a summary.
And did you type up? Did you make notes in this particular case?
Yes, I did.
And in that jail call, who were the speakers in the jail call?
Jose and Layleen.
And what was the context for their conversation?
In the conversation, they were continuing a conversation from a previous call discussing.
If I'm correct, we're talking about this is a phone. I see you, Pam Money, I see you. If I'm correct, this is the jail call that this creep was speaking to his wife. But we'll find out. Let's just listen on and go from here. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for hitting the like. Let's get it.
How he had went to YouTube.
You want to be heard?
Yes, Your Honor, you've already stated that, or you've already overruled their objection to our admission of the content of the conversation, in that it's being offered for the admission of a party opponent and also as in context. This is about the same call, May 11th.
Did I misunderstand your objection?
Yes, Judge. I and I apologize for perhaps my confusion. I thought that this was related to the whether or not they were going to offer Agent Ramirez as an expert or not.
I just told her to proceed. Okay. So I'll overrule that objection as stated.
Going back to the call, you identified the parties
Yes.
and you were giving the court the context of the call.
Yes. So they were discussing how he had went to UGA to look for work. In the call, they also discussed Layling had asked him where.
Yeah, this is, if we're going, we can play the phone call, I guess, if we can authenticate this, but if we're just gonna talk about what Layling said, then it's hearsay, and she lives up in New York. This isn't a, my guess is that the FBI has the ability to get her.
So I've overruled the objection based on the reference and the playing of Ms. Franco's and the interpretation of Ms. Franco. So you can continue. It's overruled.
At this time, I'm going to play the call. And Specialist Ramirez, can you listen to the call and then give the court a summary of what the call says?
Yes, I can.
Diga Estados Unidos. Después del tono, por favor, diga Estados Unidos. Gracias. Esta llamada no es privada. Será grabada y podría ser monitoreada. Si cree que debería ser una llamada privada, oye y siga las instrucciones del centro para registrar este número como un número privado. Es posible que usted no vuelva ningún sonido en la conversación de su...
Okay, can you tell us what that was?
At the beginning of every call, there's usually an automated message letting the parties know that their calls are being recorded and that if this call should be private, they should hang up and follow the instructions provided by the jail on how to set up that number.
Llamada, por favor, no cuelgue.
Whoops. Okay, there we go.
Hola, esta es una llamada con datos recibidos preparada de... Encapsulado en Athens Court County Jail. Esta llamada no es privada. Será grabada y podría ser monitoreada. Si cree que debería ser una llamada privada, oye y siga...
I'm going to switch the speed for this second right now because I want to put on normal speed. I normally do 2.5, but the reason I'm doing normal speed because we want to get, well, I'm just put on normal speed for this moment. Let's resume.
Las instrucciones del centro para registrar este número como un número privado para aceptar cargos y dar su consentimiento para grabar esta llamada o privar uno para no aceptar gratuita.
Okay, what is that?
That is an automated voice saying that the person that he's calling is receiving a prepaid call from an inmate, and then usually they can say their name, they don't have to, and then the call will ring so the other person can pick it up.
I thought something else was going to happen different. Never mind. We're going to go back to 1.25. I'm so sorry to the people that watch a replay. Just work with me, work with me, work with me. All right, let's resume. Back to 1.25. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He asked her if she's able to hear him okay, and she said yes, that it sounds better. He asked her where were they in the conversation, and she says we were talking about him going to look for the job.
So what is the I'll move on to the next. Okay.
He says that he went inside, he spoke with the girl. She starts yelling, saying that she's fed up.
Okay.
She's saying that she's fed up, that he has her tired, and if he can just tell the truth.
Okay.
She says, are you going to, or are you not going to say the truth? He tells her that he went over there to look for a job.
Okay. Okay.
She continues to ask him what happened with the girl.
Okay.
She tells him, don't wait for me to come and see you because they will not let me see you. Immigration told me that if I step foot over there, I will be in trouble.
Okay.
Remember reading off of something?
I am not. I'm only able to see the audio that she's playing.
I apologize.
Okay.
She continues asking that she wants to know what happened with the girl.
Okay. Okay.
She tells him that he has to know something, and he just continues to tell her, like, Layling, enough, Layling, enough.
Okay.
He just continues to say, okay, okay, okay.
Okay.
She asked him if he had smoked that day, and he said no.
I'm just asking, is there a noise in the background? Is that them talking or?
No, usually it can be background noise from a TV or just other inmates in the background.
Okay.
He asked her if she's writing, and she's like, writing what? And he's like, are you writing? And she said, no, I'm not writing. I'm just fed up.
Okay.
He said, you're fed up. Okay, okay.
Oops. Okay. Can you?
She said, oh my gosh. And then you cut off mid-sentence, so I can't.
Let me go back a little bit.
Yes.
Okay.
He's telling her, yeah, you're fed up. You're fed up. And she's saying, yeah, I'm fed up, and it's your fault.
Okay.
She said that she thinks it's crazy that they don't have anyone else's DNA. They only have his. And she said she doesn't understand how someone can see someone dying and not call 911.
Okay.
He's saying, enough, Layling. That's why I'm telling you. And she's saying, no, 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 no.
This is so sad to hear the wife like this. Realize that she was laying down with a creep. A low-life creep. And he thinks she's stupid. Oh my gosh. Let's resume.
Okay.
She's saying that you're not going to come here and lie to me. I know you. You know something. And he's like, okay, Layling.
Okay.
She asked him where was El Gocho when he was out, and he states that he's either in the house or in the bed. Due to the call being a little bit muffled, it's hard to understand which word he's using.
Okay. And I'll stop it right there. Nothing further of this witness.
I'm gonna cross-examine.
No questions, Chair.
It should be excused.
Yes.
Any objection?
Judge, if I can have this. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Wesley Kirk, D-U-R-K-I-T.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end it here. I just want to, listen to the body cam, and I want to listen to the phone call. I want to listen to those two things, and we're just doing a recap on this. And this was day 2. But today was actually day 3 of the trial, so tomorrow, I guess, will be day 4, and I'll be doing some recaps tomorrow. All right? So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for engaging. And thank you for hitting the like button and stay tuned for some more of Donna Just Being Real. Adios.